everybody, welcome back to Resistance of Tyranny. Sorry for the last few days that were missed. Some problems, ran out of storage on my device, on this laptop I do the editing on. And so I'm still waiting on a intro to get made, a professional intro for this channel, because that other one's kind of tacky, not going to lie. So first off, following accusations that paid protesters were hijacking the George Floyd protest and bringing in violence by George Soros, Open Society Foundations has issued a rare statement claiming that he nor anyone else is funding the chaos. Introducing the statement, spokesperson Michael Vachon writes, Facebook, Twitter, and other social media platforms are being used to spread the now familiar and thoroughly debunked conspiracy theory that George Soros and the Open Society Foundations are paying people to protest. In this case, that the murder of George Floyd, we are appalled by this attempt to delegitimize the genuine outpouring of anger and concern from people in the U.S. and around the world. Those protesting the death of Mr. Floyd and police brutality across the nation do so out of deep and abiding concern for the country. They don't do so for pay from these foundations or any other. Some Syrians claim. Some assertions are false, offensive, and do disservice to the very bedrock of our democracy as enshrined in the First Amendment, which they're trying to take away at the same time. Many began to question whether the protests have an organized staged component after piles of mysterious bricks were discovered in major protest towns, and a video of what appears to be an organizer paying a protester emerged. I actually haven't seen that video yet, but I'll look for that, and if I find it, I'll put it up. Soros' statement comes days after the hoax flyer appeared in Washington, state claiming that the Thurston County Democrats were seeking a professional anarchist with funding supplies by the Open Society Foundation. I actually know what that picked flyer looks like. Just look up professional anarchist George Soros and go to images, and you'll get a flyer type thing. This wouldn't be the first time leftists has conspired to disrupt otherwise peaceful events. In 2016, Clinton operative Robert Kramer, who visited the Obama White House nearly 350 times, stepped back from his role as an organizer after a Project Veritas undercover video released a discussion of paying registrars to incite violence at Trump rallies in 2016. One of the things that we do is we stage very authentic grassroots protests right in front of their own events, like we infiltrate, said Kramer's former minion, Scott Fauble. Soros has donated nearly $90 million to feminist groups, which were behind January 2017 protests of Donald Trump's inauguration. So we know that he's funding this. It's completely obvious. We also have, this is kind of short, I've been pulling a lot of articles off here because I just don't have enough knowledge on a lot of them. So I'm kind of reading word for word what they say and then elaborating on them because I'm still learning as well. I'm trying to bring you guys along with me. Some things I'm more set on and understand more. Some of these smaller things can be confusing. Several historic monuments at the National Mall were defaced earlier this week during George Floyd's riots in D.C., including the Lincoln Memorial. Again, just because they're white, it gets defaced, it gets destroyed, it gets vandalized. Even though Lincoln helped abolish slavery, and then the black soldiers from the Civil War that were fighting against slavery, and also for World War II, the black soldiers, all those monuments got destroyed as well. Again, people are just clueless about what they're doing because the communists are running it all. Some of the spray-painted messages scrawled out on some of the monuments read, "Y'all not tired yet? Do black vets count? And fuck 12. The National Park Services showed the graffiti aftermath after the rioters left behind the National Mall on social media, asking patrons of the historic site to keep demonstrations nonviolent. And then we also have police departments being defunded, and this idea of we'll just send in public servants to go assess situations without guns, which is just... The idea sounds great and peachy, but police never know what they're going into. Again, I don't want a police state, But under president, I trust the police. Under Trump, I trust the police more. I'm just going to be honest. I mean, when we had 9/11 and we had Bush and Obama, we had a major security state and a police state, and it was not right. We still had a lot of good police, though. I don't think police should have military-grade weapons at all, just because that can be, you can get bad people in charge there, and that can be used in a bad way. But we still need to have normal police with guns and rifles, and then your SWAT team units. I mean, that's just common. But these riots are just going to bring more funding to the police, not less. It's going to make them be basically a military unit, protecting and against the people in some cases. But I think they need to be no more armed than civilians can be. And that's because you're not going to be facing a threat, I don't think, that requires military weapons. Police should have fully automatic weapons. All police should have their sidearms, their ballistic vest, and then SWAT units have full autos. I mean, it's a military unit. You don't need a super huge militarization of that. You get what I'm saying, because civilians can be that armed as well. And that's where you have to match. I mean, you don't need to match Soviet Union level of power or China against civilians. Equal. I mean, that's how back in history, the sheriff's department was, they would vet in people, and then they would go take care of the threat of whatever. And so unless they want to bring that back, we need to keep the police. But I do like this idea of having public servants, but that's what police are. I mean, I get the idea because firefighters, they don't carry guns with them if they're walking to a fire. It's just, but police get called out to every situation where a gun could be needed, where you don't know what's going to be happening there. So that's a tricky thing to understand. I don't know. Let's move on from that. You guys can think on that. The irony of supposedly grassroots black organizations defacing the monument of the president who emancipated the slaves, like I said, during the American Civil War was apparently lost on the group. Unfortunately, the Black Lives Matter organization and its far-left allies routinely deface and even outright destroy historic American monuments, statues, and other landmarks during their political gatherings. They even accuse people of being racist for simply removing graffiti. There was a bizarre video of 3 women, I believe, outside of a mall scrubbing off BLM. This Karen comes up. I'm just saying, Karen, you're against Black Lives Matter? No, we're cleaning it to make the building look professional. And then they are terrorists. They incite violence if you don't do what they want. Cars roll by, do you support Black Lives Matter? Yes. Car rolls by, do you support Black Lives Matter? All lives matter. No, it starts beating up the car. That's how it works. That's what the Second Amendment's for. That's why you should always carry a gun. Out.